All right. All right, man. Properties. Oh, there it goes. All right, but we're gonna get started here real soon. I just gotta go deal with the kid real quick. You're gonna be able to hear Mike now.
Oh, does everyone hear me? Oh gosh. Hi everyone. The pressure. I'm getting some things set up on my end too. Just writing down some questions from the podcast producers. Da, 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 da. If you are a podcast producer on our Discord, you want to ask a question there, you can go ahead. I'm adding them now. Otherwise, you can send questions in via super chats like normal. We will get to those at some point. So you guys hear that feedback from Jeff? He said only I would hear it, but I don't know if I believe him. I hear, oh, there it's gone. Now it's gone. I think he heard me, and then he turned the thing off. I'm glad I shamed him into action. I should tweet about this happening. Me and a joke.
Okay, I'm here.
Hello.
Hello.
Just tweeting one more time, but we're going live.
You know what? I should set up your face. Oh no, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Oh my god, look at that. You already made a thingy.
Yeah.
Everything. Wow.
I just made it real quick though, so if you want to make it better.
That's good. Yeah, man. I tell you what, yeah, guys, we literally this podcast is not very far along in production until literally today when this news drop was like, oh, we should do our first episode today.
Yep. And I was like, Mike, that's a good idea. It's such a good name. I've been thinking about it for forever. I'm like, man, Last of the Nintendogs.
That is mostly why this podcast exists.
Yep.
Because we came up with a good name.
Mike, take credit for it. It was all you. That was all you.
Do. It was all me. I will take credit for it. Are you gonna read the super chats on this one? Are we just reversing all of our roles, Jeff? On the sides for editing, you still do that.
Yes. Yes, that's what. Yeah, because I can hit. Where is it? Let me make sure. Top chats. Maybe is there a button for that?
Yeah, I just go to Stream Elements to read.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna. I think there's got to be a thing right here where I could just click on it though. I'll do that, but viewer activity. Yes, right there. Perfect. Okay. Cool. Mike, I'm ready. Are you ready? You know what? Hang on. Let me ask you how you want to do this. So this is the intro song. Let me.
Who should I credit for the intro song? Who's doing this?
No one, because I paid money I paid Adobe for this. So,
whoa, shit,
so
dude.
you don't have to credit anyone.
Wow.
But this, it's also not a very good song, so it's just what we're using for now. But
Nice.
Tell me like when during this you want to come in with the intro, and I have a little tab here, and I'll just go down with the music a little bit so that you could talk over it. So just tell me when. Let's start it.
Now it's fine.
Okay.
When I would.
And I'll do it like that. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me.
You know, I'll do a little bit more. There we go. Okay. All right. Let me
Whoa.
let me fade out. Sorry.
That you're not apology not accepted. You know what? Tired of your bullshit.
All right. Well, let's go. I don't know why I do another podcast with you.
It's happening.
All right, everybody. I think we're good. I got the chat here. I could see the super chats. I got to hit the record button. Let me just do that because we're already live. Okay. Mike, I can count it down still.
All right, so you know what you're doing in the intro? You're going to say your thing after I say my thing.
Yes, I'm Jeff Grubb, and I'm... Yeah, okay, right?
Oh, don't spoil it.
I stopped saying it. I stopped. Okay, all right. Okay. And I just come in right after you, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's gonna be great.
Okay. Mike, I'm going to do the countdown. I'm going to hit the music. It's going to do the crescendo. I will bring down the thing, and then you just go right into it. All good?
Oh my gosh, you guys are ready. I'm the quote unquote host this time,
Yeah.
so there's more responsibility. We'll see how this goes.
All right. 5, 4.
Hello, I am Mike Minotti, and I am a Nintendog.
I'm Jeff Grubb, and I'm a Nintendog.
And we are the last of the Nintendogs. How organic was that?
I felt good about it, Mike. I don't care. I felt good. It's too good of a name not to just like hit people with it over the head right at the beginning. Mike, what are we doing here?
We have a new podcast. We are doing a Nintendo dedicated podcast. We have talked about doing this for a bit. We came up with a very good name, so that's really why we're doing it. And we had not gotten very far along. All we had was a name, and then today some big Switch news dropped. And I was like, Jeff, we should do the first episode of our podcast today so we could talk about this OLED Switch. And here we are. So, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling very good. I'm very excited. So I wanted to do this episode or this podcast for a very long time. I'm like, Mike, you know, people like a console focused one. The only one I'd be willing to do is a Nintendo one. Also, I want you to just host the show so I can kick back a little bit and just be the annoying one for once,
Wow.
right?
Once.
And so when you said that this morning, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we got the Anchor, the RSS feed should be live. I'll link to all that stuff. But basically, if you go to like Anchor and you just search for Last of the Nintendogs, you'll find the RSS feed. And you could just put that in any podcatcher right now. But it's going to start going out to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, everything else real soon. I put a placeholder episode there that was just there to like start, propagating the feed. But I'm excited. Like this is that the right word? I think so. That's what people say. It's the right word,
but it also makes me uncomfortable. But I think you're correct.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's one of those
I feel
words.
like propagating is something God would say in like the Old Testament. The humans.
Yeah.
Go propagate.
There's some crotch energy happening with propagate. Yeah,
you're making it worse. All right.
Well, Nintendo, Mike. So, you're hosting. What do we do next?
Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us on this first episode. We're still kind of figuring things out. I'm not sure if this is going to be the day on Tuesday that we always record this. I'm not even sure if this is the format we're going to always have. But we are still tied into the Jeff Grubb Game Mess Network, I suppose.
I guess so.
Jeff, you want to tell them about that Patreon, because you can still get all those perks there in terms of getting to the special Patreon channel and being able to send us questions. If you're not a Patreon subscriber, though, you can still send super chats, and we will answer all of those questions at some point during the show. But tell them about the Patreon, Jeff.
Yeah, it's patreon.com/ Game Mess. I forget which one. No, is it Jeff Grubb? It's patreon.com/ Jeff Grubb.
Jeff Grubb sounds like your personal one. Sounds like you're just funneling money to yourself.
I mean, who knows? Who could say? The government for sure could not. It's patreon.com/ Jeff Grubb. And what that does is it supports this stuff, but it also gets you access to secret channels inside the Discord. One of them is called Industry Secrets. Other one is Podcast Producers, and that's exactly what it sounds like. You could tell us what you think of the shows. Mike's in there a lot. You can talk to him about what you think. He takes feedback a lot, and we take questions from there for shows like this, and we'll be answering some of those questions at the end. Now, if you're not a podcast producer, or if you're like just watching live, you could always hit us with a super chat. We'll answer those as well, and I'll be reading them on this show. So I'm excited for that responsibility, Mike.
Right. And yeah, someone already asked. Games Beat the Sides is not going anywhere. That is still going to be happening every Friday. We're just doing a bit more of a Nintendo focused thing here. And I'm sure we'll still talk about Nintendo and Games Beat the Sides. But this will be fun.
Yep, absolutely. I'm excited.
So we should get into the big news of the day then here. Nintendo Switch OLED. That is the next Switch. That's kind of the name of it. It doesn't really have a name. It's just a new Switch model. And they literally say it's the OLED model. It's coming out on October 8th for $350. It has a 7-inch OLED screen. Internally, pretty much it's the same hardware. There's going to be no performance boost or anything like that. It has a different Switch dock, and this dock has a LAN port. It has 64 gigabytes of storage. It has quote-unquote improved audio. I don't really understand what that means, but this is the new Switch for this year. There is no like Switch Pro per se. This is what we're getting. Jeff, what do you think?
I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it. It's $350. It's got a bigger screen. It's an OLED, and I bet that I'm going to get it, and it's going to feel a whole lot like the old Switch. And yet, I just can't stand the idea of not having this one. So I will be getting it. Whether or not Nintendo sends us one or not, I'll pre-order one and hopefully be able to get my hands on it. But
we might still be in the Nintendo dog house.
Hey, and it's fitting. It's fitting. I think this thing makes a lot of sense. It's the kind of system that you do when you are just trying to hit those buttons of when you're in a certain part of the console generation and you want to make sure that you keep the system feeling fresh. You want to keep the price at a certain point. You want to appeal to new and existing customers with a very simple pitch. It's a bigger screen. It's a bigger and better screen. Like, that stuff is so easy to sell to people, and it works. It's gonna work on me. I think it's gonna work on a lot of existing Nintendo Switch owners, a lot of new Nintendo Switch owners, and the whole point is this thing is going to be $50 more expensive because they can get away with that, because Switch demand is so high. They can keep that old model at $300 and say, for $50 more, you're going to get a bigger screen and you're going to get more storage or whatever. You can get a LAN port or whatever. Things that are like a LAN port costs like pennies to add to something like this, like literal pennies per unit. So it's all about FOMO. It's all about making sure it's about FOMO and about making sure that people recognize that the Switch is still a premium thing that still should cost $300 and $350. Now, if the Switch had been having issues over the last couple of years, if it had price cuts, this thing would have came in at $300 for sure. But because the Switch is never going down in price, apparently, they could sell this thing for more, and then that creates it sets the stage for, if they do end up still doing a Switch Pro, they could do that for $400 instead, and it's all just gonna kind of work out in Nintendo's favor.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like I'm way more down on this thing than you are. Let's talk about that price first. It's pretty crappy that even now we aren't getting any kind of a price drop. Like, it wouldn't even have been a quote unquote price drop if this had just come in at $300.
Yep,
they could have at least done that. And yeah, the old model is $250 now, because we're going to be discontinuing those at some point anyways. Because what reason is there for that to exist other than to be a cheaper model? And it's kind of a cheaper model now, but it's the same price. So I get it. Switches are still selling really well. Why drop the price? But there is something of a practicality here. Like, there's a technical reason why maybe this could finally have cost $300. So $300, I think, is kind of, or $350. That's a little scummy.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's no doubt that they are getting away with it. They feel like they can get away with it, so they're going to get away with it. They're going to try it because they think we'll pay, and they're right. That's the thing.
They're right. Too many of those decisions in a row, though, can eventually hurt a company. And yeah, I don't think they're close to that being a problem yet. But I also disagree with you in terms of, I don't know if this is something a lot of existing Switch owners are going to get.
Not a lot.
I think maybe weirdos like you, yes.
Yes.
But I don't know. Like, obviously, there would be a lot more if it was the Pro, and they know that. It almost seems like the bigger focus here is for new Switch owners to be excited about it. And of course, there's going to be some people who are going to go back and they're going to care that much about any kind of new Switch, or maybe they are just that obsessed about having the OLED or having a LAN port. I don't know.
It's the people, I think, like, there are a lot of people who bought a bunch of 3DSs because there were like new colors and stuff. Like, there was this, I got a 3DS XL or whatever, and it had the Zelda thing on it. And then the next year, I really wanted the one that had the Mario Luigi stuff on it, so I got that one too. There was no difference. It just had a different thing on the cover. And there are among Nintendo fans, I think there is a significant portion. It's not a lot of people, but it's enough that it makes a difference to Nintendo's top line in terms of how many consoles are we selling. Excuse me, I had to cough there. And a big part of it is just like, if they can keep selling systems to that audience, eventually those other systems filter down to people. And really, you're right that this is not all about that. It's also about kind of appealing to new people, and just having a bigger screen is a big part of that. It's very easy to just say bigger screen to people who haven't bought a Switch yet, and they'll pay $50 more. But really, I think it's just long-term stage setting for ensuring that the Switch still seems valuable and like a premium thing, and not dropping the price is part of that narrative. and it's not like we get the short end of the sticker there, right? Like it's
Sure.
it's you're right, it's a bit scummy, but I do think enough people. I think the thing's going to sell out. I think the thing's going to sell out
Yeah,
like in
well,
that
sure.
those
I
first
mean, the
couple
Switches
months.
may have sold out this holiday anyways, even
Right.
without that. And that's kind of the other thing here is if there is going to be a Switch Pro next year, and there very well still could be. I don't
I
think
think
anyone's
so.
expecting it early next year anymore. It would be a
No.
holiday thing again. But like, I would almost rather we just skipped this incremental upgrade and like had whatever the Switch Pro is going to be. Plus, we're seeing this OLED for the first time. Plus, we're seeing this bigger kickstand and all those little things, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now, the Switch Pro is going to almost seem like less of an upgrade because presumably all we're going to be getting there is like the internal stuff that's going to be better. And
Yeah.
again, that's if that's coming. I still think there's reason to think that's coming. That's kind of the other angle here is, there were a lot of rumors and there's a lot of build up to this moment, and some people are kind of let down. People are saying that people are angry. I don't really see a lot of anger. I'm seeing a lot of people who are disappointed. I feel
I,
like there's like an overreaction to the reaction in terms of some people be like,
you,
"Whoa, Nintendo fans need to calm down." I'm
there
like,
there's some of that for sure, but like there's some people in our chat who are like, I'm not going to fall for this, and I feel like and I mean, I appreciate that. Like, don't, if you feel like you are being like deceived here, because all marketing is deception. Absolutely, that's
sure.
what they're trying to do. Then yeah, then don't buy the thing. I think that's fair. But I mean, we got to recognize a big part of this. It's just marketing, and we can all kind of stand back and acknowledge that's what it is, and try to like make rational decisions, like from that point going forward. I don't know. I was a little bit shocked that people were like, the way there was some reaction like, oh, this is it wasn't even mad at Nintendo. It was like, we're mad at the leakers for lying to us.
Well, no, that I hate that we're mad at the leakers thing because there was the one very good source from Bloomberg that seemed like and it got a lot of the things right about it, by the way. So I don't know if what they knew was just what's actually coming later, or if, and I want to ask you about this, is it possible that we were supposed to get something more ambitious and Nintendo looked at the chip shortages and was like, maybe we're not going to do that this year, but we still have the OLEDs ready. We can still put that out at least. So let's do that for now. Or you think the plan was just always this one this year and maybe bigger thing next year?
I think that a lot of things were on the table, but I think the plan was likely this thing this year, and then maybe also the Pro this year. I think there was no reason why they wouldn't try to like kind of set things up like side by side, but they looked at it and they're like, we do not need to rush the Pro out, I think is kind of where they're at right now. But I mean, you look at that March report from Bloomberg, and it really was just 7-inch 720p OLED screens, from Samsung. And that's exactly what we're getting. And it's like, so clearly, I think there was just some conflation happening, maybe among a little bit at Bloomberg, where they were conflating that with also the 4K stuff. But right when that happened, there were a lot of people, like I remember Digital Foundry did a podcast that week, and they were like, hey, this is probably a specific upgrade to a 720p or to an OLED screen that is 7 inches. And that sort of got lost in the noise because people just kept harping on the Switch Pro thing. And so to me, this thing is just, it makes so much sense that of course this is what we're getting first. And the timeline for when we get the Switch Pro after this could have been relatively soon. It could be next year. It could be the kind of thing that where they just decide later on they don't need to do it and it gets pushed off forever. But I think there's still a good chance that this was kind of always the general, I think it was always in the realm of like, let's look at our future. Let's set some general like timelines for when these things could happen. I bet we are still well within what Nintendo expected as a possible timeline for rolling this stuff out. I don't think things changed too much there.
Mm-hmm. It's just kind of the same line, like the whole the blaming the leakers thing is still like we had no skin in this game. We never had any reporting on this.
No, people kept saying it was like my rumor today, and that's why I was getting frustrated.
You're responsible for all these rumors now, aren't you?
I guess so. Yeah.
But things change. Sometimes sources can just be bad. But I think in this instance, first off, there were some very good sources, and a lot of stuff was right. And then a lot of other people talked about it. It conflated things and kind of. We're speculating a bit much, and maybe sometimes the speculation got lost from what was actually part of the big rumors here. But if you see people getting upset, testy or disappointed today, I think that there is some anxiousness, right? Like even if there weren't any rumors, I think a lot of people would still have kind of expected a bigger Switch upgrade by now, because we are seeing games like Hyrule Warriors sort of struggle on this system, and it is a system that it came out 2017, right? it was weaker than the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, and now those systems have successors that are out there, right? And of course, we're not expecting these things, a Switch to suddenly be as good as a PlayStation 5, but it seems like some kind of an upgrade would have been due by now. And I feel like we're going to be really anxious for it next year. This year would have been a nice time to get it.
I agree, and I guess what do you think about the overall timeline of the console generation? A lot of people say it's impossible for like a Switch Pro to happen next year because we're going to get a Switch 2 the year after that, or maybe 2 years later. To me, that's like you're behaving too fatalistically, where you think the future's been written. This is something we talked about, I think, on GameSpeak Decides a little bit. Like, people just think that this stuff is always going to be like a 6-year life cycle or something like that. It has to be that long, or 7-year life cycle now. And it's like, no, these things are going to bend and shift and move, especially in this day and age where people might be more open to revisions, and Nintendo might be more open to like long-term revisions, and resetting the generation doesn't make a lot of sense because we see how much success Sony's having with trying to keep people on services and stuff like that, and you don't want to be in a situation where like you're telling people they have to all buy new hardware again and start from zero. So I don't know, to me it's just I feel like that timeline's probably going to expand a little bit. What do you think?
I think that I think that whatever happens, we're getting some kind of an upgrade within the next year or two, and maybe the upgrade is just called a Switch 2, and maybe it just is fully backwards compatible, and it's basically a Switch. Like, who knows what these things look like anymore? Like, what is the official next successor to the Switch? Is it really going to be as radical a change as from Wii U to the Switch? Probably not. So, maybe it's just a really big upgrade that they go ahead and call the Switch 2. And of course, it's compatible with all the old Switch games because it still is a Switch, basically, right? I don't know how it's going to look. It's not like, I don't think they're saying we can't do a big Switch upgrade or whatever soon because in 3 years we're releasing the Switch 2. It's not going to work like that.
Want to just drop in a few relevant super chats. Brap, Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. How's it going? Brap says Nintendo OLED day one here, and yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I
guess the OLED doesn't like. We talked about this before. The display, the resolution has never been a problem for me. Frame rate has been the only thing that has concerned me about the Switch for a long time now. Mm-hmm. So it's just personally not a big deal for me. Like, I would pay $350 if it was literally just, here's the Switch where every game is at least 30 frames per second stable, and some games are at 60 FPS. I would spend $350 or $400 on that. On OLED, it doesn't mean much to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think a month after I buy it, I'm going to be like, Mike was absolutely right. This doesn't make that much of a difference.
Well, I always am.
The day before, I'm going to be like, I got to have this thing. I have to have this thing. I can't not have this thing. That's just what Nintendo wants. They know that's what they're taking advantage of. So, yeah. Jedi Moss 4 says, does Dread being touted as the headline game for the OLED Switch mean Nintendo has confidence in Metroid Dread selling? They're definitely like tying the two things together, huh?
Which is neat. There's something there. I mean, look, it's the biggest game they have this fall, and I'm sure that they did like look at what they were releasing and say which one of these games can come out with this new Switch model, or even vice versa. Like, which game should we release the Switch model with? Metroid does make the most sense out of your options this year. Like, what is WarioWare Advance Wars going to be something you launch with new hardware? Not really. So I think it is a good sign for Metroid, but it is a little bit by default, right? Like, if Breath of the Wild 2 was coming out this year, it would have been coming out with that instead. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think I'm trying to like imagine like what they could say about Metroid Dread taking advantage of this stuff, and it's like it's not even HDR. Like, I think that's when I start thinking about it, like I'm like, man, this is if it's an OLED screen, and that's going to be, it is going to look better. It's going to use less power, and it's going to have a bigger battery, I think. So that's that. All that stuff is cool.
It's not even an online game, so you can't even talk about using the LAN thing, right?
Right.
Like, that won't matter. So yeah, and it's going to look as much like it's going to look better. Like, all games will quote unquote look better in portable mode. That's the other weird thing about this is if you're somebody who plays on the TV, there's absolutely really no difference unless you're really excited about that LAN port.
Yep, absolutely. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any other relevant things. Nope, not really. Well, hang on. I think this one might be from Brett Templin. Since they share a lot of the same internals, do they continue to manufacture both Switch models in tandem, or do they discontinue the current Switch and sell the remaining stock before the Pro is released?
It's a good question, and I am kind of confused about this. Like, are they still going to keep just making the old Switch and putting it out there? Because they don't even have a snappy new name for this one. Like, the different, like, they don't seem to be very different. Like, this does just seem like what you would do, kind of like that last time when we had the new Switch with the better battery life and stuff, right? Like, this is almost more in line with that. There's some slight upgrades there, and some people are going to be excited about that, but it's not like it's called the Switch Bright or like, the
Right.
Switch Crisp or something. It's just the Switch OLED model. Like,
Yeah.
is it like what's the packaging even look like? I forget they released it, but it's not
Yeah,
like
they
the
did.
words
It's like a
OLED.
vertical. It's like a vertical package now. I'm
Wait.
like, wow, that's different. Like it's getting like it's all this BS that we talk about. I remember like when the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 were getting revealed, and we're like, oh man, the OS for the PlayStation 5 is different. That kind of gets me excited. I wish Microsoft would do something different. It's like that sort of
Malibu
thing.
Stacy's new hat.
Yes, and Malibu Stacy's new hat, and I'm definitely in that phase where it's like, hey, I've had my Switch for a long time. I got a Switch Lite, I really like that, but I'm ready for another one. So any sort of new thing, I'm really fixating on, and yet the actual differences that we'll experience will be very little. And then, what does that mean for the original Switch? Right now they have an image on the website where it's like all three next to each other, and it's like the Switch family, and I think they even have like the prices underneath them, and I think they're like really emphasizing like there's a $200 model, $300 model, and $350 model, and I think it's important to them to emphasize that right now. I do think that there's a good chance that the old Switch model does slowly get phased out, and one day we're looking around and there's just no more on the store shelves. My guess is that this OLED model is cheaper to manufacture, probably increases their profit margins, so they're probably going to try to take advantage of that over time, and that means yes, the 300. My guess here is this is how I think it's going to go, and this is all speculation and guessing, but that $300 model does phase out. They introduce a Switch Pro next year, and then they also introduce an OLED version of the Switch Lite that goes up to $250, maybe $300. And so there's a $300 model, a $350, and a $400 model. And I think it's going to be basically Nintendo raising the prices across the board, and that's what's the end goal here.
You know what I'm really worried about is that Pokemon Legends Arceus game.
Yes.
Because we saw that trailer, we're all like, "This looks rough," but we'll probably have a Switch Pro before it comes
January.
out.
It's
So
coming
it'll
in
look
January,
better.
right? So yeah.
Is that game really coming out in January? Man,
It really feels like that was just like a date they picked out of the hat so they could delay it for some reason. I don't know.
but we'll see. And then we saw some games. Remember, even Mario plus Rabbids 2, which is coming out like next spring. Like that was a game that we all thought looked, oh, that must be running on like new Switch hardware.
It looks
It
good.
good, but it was a trailer, so who they could do any number of things.
You're
Or
right.
maybe it just does look that good on a normal Switch. I don't know. I will say that white model of the Switch OLED that's pretty crisp. I like that.
It does look fancy. I agree.
Mm-hmm. Got a Malibu Stacy's new hat it up.
Yep.
All right, Jeff. Is there anything else you want to say about this OLED Switch?
No, I'm glad it has a little bit more storage inside. I probably won't use the LAN port, even though I'm glad it has that. But no, not really. I want to pre-order one. I don't. Are they even up for pre-order anywhere?
I don't even know. I don't
think so.
You feeling more confident now that we are getting Breath of the Wild 2 with maybe a Switch Pro next year? Like those two things can once again seem tied to each other.
I think it's a good chance. Yeah, I think it's a good chance. Yeah.
Speaking of Zelda, Nintendo released a little kind of Skyward Sword preview video this past week that's showing some of the quality of life improvements. This is a good thing that they did with Wind Waker and with Twilight Princess, where you got these little improvements here. And they're kind of addressing some of the big like pacing complaints people have with the game, or the little annoyances. Like the big one in Skyward Sword was, in a Zelda game, every time you pick up an item for the first time, like a rupee, it's like, this is a rupee. It's worth 5 rupees or something. Skyward Sword had this weird quirk where whenever you stopped playing and then you picked up your save again, it would forget you ever picked up a rupee. So the next time you would pick up like a green rupee, it would stop the game and be like, this is a rupee. And you're just like, I know. I'm 30 hours into my 20th Zelda game. I know what a rupee is. So that's not happening anymore. You're also going to be able to hold B to skip dialogue. You can skip cutscenes in some of the tutorial dialogue. There's more auto saving. You can summon Fee for help, which seemed to me like she was already offering more help than I wanted to in the original game. So I don't know what that means, but it's nice to see we're getting some of these little fixes and speed ups here and there, and who knows what else we're gonna get. I wonder if they're going to do anything about that. Really, remember there's like that weird stubby toe monster that slowly goes up that winding hill. You have to fight multiple times. I wonder if they're doing anything with that, like maybe only making you fight him one time or speeding up the other fights in some way. I don't know. What do you think about all this?
I'm excited. I feel like I think I remember the game got announced and people were like $60 for a port. I can't believe it. And I'm like, why do you guys think they're not going to make upgrades? What is it? Did they say they're not going to make? They must have said they're not going to make upgrades because everyone's freaking out that it's $60 with no upgrades. And I'm like, oh no, of course they're doing all this stuff to it. Like this stuff just makes so much sense. They've always done this with Zelda. The team that like oversees Zelda feels like a lot of ownership over it and making sure that they thrive on correcting a lot of these mistakes and these things that are annoying. They know, and it's like a good sign that they're listening. But the Zelda team has always done that, and so to see something like them fixing the pop-ups about the rupees and all the pickups throughout the game, that is it's a big significant change, but it's also an obvious one, and it's one I think if they didn't do, it would have been an absolute tragedy.
I think people they kind of had to do that, but it's still like it's nice to see it.
Yeah, it's nice to see it, and I'm more excited than ever to play this game. I think that it's going to be it's going to feel significantly better. I think a lot of these changes seem small, they seem minor, but I think it's going to do a good job of streamlining the experience and making sure that people feel like, oh, this is the best way to play Skyward Sword.
Plus, it's going to be in HD. It's going to be, I think they said 60 FPS even. We're going to have the, we don't have to use motion controls if you don't want to. People in chat also kind of clarified that. I think the assumption, or if not just straight out stated, is that a lot of times with Fee would just talk to you when you didn't want her to. Now that's like optional stuff, right? So that's how that's working, that's great. Very good. I think, I liked Skyward Sword as it was with its warts. So I think just trimming some of the fat there, that's going to help that game a lot. And again, it has become this this loud discussion point, like $60 for this port. I don't know. It seems like a pretty substantial upgrade. I understand that we have had some other like big remakes and upgrades that have cost $40. So, if you want to get upset about it, that's fine. But, you don't have to buy it.
Right, this is not like a limited time thing like the Mario stuff was. It's going to be on the shelves for a long time. It'll probably get like a $40 discount at probably be $40 a year and a half from now or whatever. So just wait if you're not sure. But
you think Nintendo's going to drop the price on a game? I don't know about that.
Well, they like though I think they did a sale recently on like some of their more recent games, and they were like $40 for like a couple. They were like for like a weekend. They dropped the price by $20 like once, and then that's it. And temporarily they go back up after that. But I think that there's I still think this game's going to do just fine. It's like a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I'm surprised I like this as much as I do because I always heard this is one of the worst ones. There's still going to be some aspects of it. I think that the game always looked okay, but it never looked as good as Wind Waker, and it never looked as good as Breath of the Wild or even Twilight Princess, honestly.
It looks better than Twilight Princess, I think.
Okay, I have to like. I think in my memory that's how it goes. But I going into this, I think that they're gonna the HD is gonna help a lot. I bet
HD is gonna help a lot.
Yeah, and I bet it's still not gonna look as good as Breath of the Wild, but like of course not. It's a much older game, and I'm sure people will still find issues and not like it as much. I think
there will still be pacing. I mean, it still is the game. There's still gonna be some pacing issues. There's still kind of like. It's not like one big open world like some Zelda games, or certainly Breath of the Wild. It's very segmented, right? Like you're in the sky, and then there's those portals to kind of those three hub areas. So in some ways, that makes it feel smaller.
Yeah, but I'm excited. My pre-order went through the last week, so it's already like ready to go. Like once it's available to download, I'll have it right away, and I'm looking forward to trying this game again. This is one of the first big games I think I got for review. I think they they sent me the one with the gold Switch with the Switch or the not the Switch, the Wiimote Plus or whatever with it built in and stuff like that. Yeah. And I have the
dongle for it anymore. That was nice.
Right, that helped a lot. And liked it. I thought it was a pretty solid game. I liked the way that they brought all of the like the Zelda's known for its temples, right? You go in your temples and there's all these puzzles, and what this game did
are really good.
Yeah, it brought the dungeons.
Sword.
Yeah, it brought the dungeons like outside of the dungeon stuff. So like you could like as you were like leading up to a dungeon, you were doing similar puzzles, and it worked really well. I really liked that stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it again.
Really good boss fights too. I remember.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm excited. So Nintendo also had their 81st annual general meeting of shareholders, which just sounds absolutely tantalizing. And they did a Q&A, and it's been translated, so now we can all read it. There's some fun nuggets here, nothing too crazy, but somebody just asked them all what their favorite game was, and Shiggy actually went on about how much he loves Pokemon Go. Jeff, is Shiggy a filthy casual?
I think he might be, yeah. Like he always talks about like trying to make like he wanted to make like the one button games and stuff like that. Just the win button. I remember like he's the
Wii Music guy.
The Wii Music guy, right? Yeah, I think he's very casual.
Zelda and Mario, it's all been nullified because he likes Pokemon Go. How dare he like? I mean. It's at one point it's like oh because everyone in my neighborhood we all play it together, we walk out my family, I'm like oh that's sweet, but also I don't like it, make more Zelda hardcore, right? Bring back Donkey Kong Country.
Right, it's like you could build a million Mario games, but if you play one casual game, you're dirty casual and get away from me. Yeah, you're gonna ruin it all.
Stank off you.
Yeah, it's forever.
So rest in peace, Shiggy. That's too bad. We also learned a little bit more about the Illumination CEO and founder, Chris Meledandri. Probably saying that wrong, maybe not. So, Illumination is the Minions, Despicable Me people who are making the new Mario movie. Apparently, Nintendo likes him enough that he's kind of has like a role on that board now as an independent, non-executive outside director. People are like, what does that mean? It sounds like he's basically a consultant. Like he's not involved with execution of operation. It almost just sounds like they're trying to seem closer, like publicly ahead of the movie launch. Like they want people to know that that's going well.
Yeah, it seems like they want investors to understand that they have a close relationship with someone in Hollywood who can help them bring their characters to Hollywood. And I think that that's something they should try to take advantage of. Do you think that when Miyamoto was hanging out with this Chris Meledandri guy, that Miyamoto's like, I know you stole Minions from me. I know you just took the Pikmin, made him fatter and yellow.
No, if he was from Ubisoft, he should be mad because I feel like the Minions are totally just stolen from the Rabbids. If anything,
yeah, but the Rabbids behave just like the Pikmin. I think Pikmin's the originator here.
The Pikmin seem much more mild mannered than the obnoxious Rabbids and Minions. The Rabbids and Minions even scream the same.
You're right. No, it's definitely from the Rabbids. But I've watched those Pikmin short movies like 100 times because my kids love them. And whenever I'm like, this is like has a lot of Minions vibes to it, but that's not really where they got it from. But still, it's a similar concept. I think they should make a Pikmin movie. I think that would be good. They got to get this Mario one done first, though.
I'm still so curious what this Mario movie is going to look like.
Me too.
Like, is it going to be real wacky and goofy like the Minions movies? Because you could totally just like take a bunch of Toads and have them fill that role. I guess I don't know. Or is it going to like what genre do you even make it? Like it's got to be a comedy.
Yep.
I don't know. I just want to see it. I want to see how much Mario's gonna talk. It's like are Mario and Peach, how close are they gonna be? I have so many questions. Like there's got to be conflict. Like are Mario and Luigi gonna get mad at each other at some point in the movie? They kind of have to. In any other movie with two brothers, there would have to be a conflict there. It's just hard to imagine like Mario and Luigi getting into a fight.
Well, they could separate them, right? They could separate them for most of the movie, and like the end of the second act is like, Mario feels like he's never gonna be able to find Luigi or whatever. For me, it's just like how much are they gonna talk? Because they've never
how much are they gonna talk?
Talked at all. So it's
weird. Sometimes Luigi talks. Like in the Paper Mario games, Luigi just talks as much as any other NPC.
Yeah,
and that's like one of the few where that's like an allowed rule,
right?
And then like recently we heard Wario talk a lot in that WarioWare commercial. Like, oh, that's weird. He's saying full sentences and stuff.
He doesn't vocalize, but he vocalizes, but he doesn't speak the lines. Wario and Waluigi have a lot of lines in Mario Golf, which is weird, but yeah, it's. I really want to see it. I think it's going to be very successful. I think it's probably going to be like one of the biggest, video game movies of all time.
It seems like it should be a big hit. If it actually like just looks like the games and every kid recognizes it as the Mario that they like, There's no reason why this shouldn't be a very big hit, but maybe it'll be really bad, and that'll hurt it. It could.
Yeah, and it seems like the kind of thing like they get Mario out of the way, and then like it's just an open field for them to do whatever with all these other Nintendo characters, and that's really what this partnerip's about.
Absolutely, and there's franchises that probably lend themselves to film much better, like Zelda and Metroid. There's a lot of possibility there. The other kind of interesting thing here was somebody asked Nintendo President Shintaro Furukawa about more mini consoles. He kind of talked about it. He said, "We will continue to examine the possibility of offering classic content, such as with the NES and Super NES Classic miniseries, as well as our online services, as a way of communicating the appeal of our products to different generations." Jeff, are we getting another mini console from Nintendo before the end of 2022?
Oh, I don't know. They've been doing those handheld, like dedicated Game and Watch things, right? That's been sort of filling
but those are almost more collectibles than anything.
No,
the minis
I know.
also kind of are, I guess, when I say that, huh?
They made a lot of those things though, and I think they're doing one for Zelda this year, so I don't think they'll do a mini this year. But what's next year? I guess they could try another one of these Game and Watches, but they've done Mario and Zelda, so to me that seems like they spent a lot of money on screens and like building up that sort of supply line. Why not just turn that into Game Boy Micro? Because to me, or Game Boy Micro, there was a Game Boy Micro, but like to me, like N64 is one thing. Like they could do that, but they'd have to make a lot of partnerships with Rare and Microsoft to get that to work. And the N64 is hard to emulate on like a Retro Pi because that hardware, because it was a tough system to emulate. And so I think that there's a chance where they'll be like, it's not worth the effort. But Game up to like Game Boy Color, maybe even Game Boy Advance, they could really make that work. And
I mean, they could even just do people would almost like and find charming just the green, gray Game Boy. I would give me that with some old games. Give me Tetris, original Pokemon, Link's Awakening, Metroid 2, Mario Land. Yeah, I'll pay money for that. Do you know how long it's been since the SNES Classic came out? That came out in 2017. It's going to be 4 years this September. And that was a big hit. So it is just weird. Obviously after that you had the Switch, and there was a lot of focus on the Switch, as there should be. But at the same time, it's not like the retro offerings there have been amazing. I actually do like the NES and SNES stuff on there. It works pretty well. The emulation is very good. It's just there just needs to be more of it, and there's not coming out with more of it.
Yep.
But that's it for kind of the big news stories here. Jeff, do you want to do some more of those super chats before I get into some of our Discord questions?
Yes, I do. All right. Let's see. Okay, so this is from Aerodemus, who asks, and this is not Nintendo related, but we'll still do it. Hey, Jeff and Mike, can we hear you two sing your version of the "It's All There" song? So, Mike, did you see this today? Microsoft put out that commercial with I guess a boy band, but it's like the barbershop quartet band, All for One, and they sang "It's All There." You haven't seen this?
I have not seen this. I was too busy with the with yelling about Nintendo on Twitter, apparently.
Right. So Nintendo had all this stuff happening. Sony announced the state of play, and Microsoft put out this commercial. And honestly, Microsoft might have had the best thing because this commercial is so good. But you'll have to check it out after the show. Thank you for that, Aerodemus. Let's see. From Dan Becker, he says, "Guys, I just got a birdie playing Mario Golf." Well done, Dan. Good job.
Good job. I mean, you could have got a hole in one or an eagle, but birdie's all right.
Yeah, birdie's okay. Wow, Mike.
I want him to aim higher, Jeff. I don't want him to settle for good enough.
Blake Merritt, I'll read this, but I see you said right here, disregard if you are not doing non-Nintendo questions.
We'll take it. We'll allow it.
We'll allow it if you're paying us money, of course.
True.
But does Death Stranding's director's cut fit into the state of play on Thursday? They'll probably do that, right? Did they announce a date for that?
The state of play is July 8th. It's going to focus on Deathloop and it can have some third-party stuff.
Right. So I wonder if they count this.
I don't know if that counts as third party. I don't know. I don't think so either. We're not going to see it if you had to guess.
Yep. From Raymond Mogos, who says Nintendo dogs decide. Nintendo dogs decide, and he put the DAWGZ.
I get you. Nintendo dogs decide. I see.
Let's see. Thomas Kalka says Last of the Nintendogs plus cats win.
Fuck cats.
Wow. Last episode of the Last of the Nintendogs.
Just gonna spin off Last of the Nintendo Cat. Do his own thing already.
I like that. How long until? Oh, this is from Deep Thinker. How long until Nintendo sues Game Builder Garage players for creating F-Zero and Mario games?
Can you export your games through that? Like, can other people play them? So maybe it's not actually a problem. Or
it's very hard to like to share your stuff. There's no like browse feature. You have to like directly give your like Game Builder Garage code to someone else, and that's the only way they could find your stuff. So it's pretty backwards thinking. But yeah, they absolutely like thought about like this is not about like actually creating and sharing stuff. It's just learning how to create stuff. That's the whole thing. Like they never really intended people to be able to play these things in a wide way.
But it's still Nintendo, so maybe they still won't be happy about you making an F-Zero game in there. I don't know.
Yeah. Hang on, I got my kid yelling at me. Oh no, there she goes. That does it for the super chats. If anyone else has any questions you guys want us to answer, we could still do that. Send over the super chats. But I believe Mike has some questions from the podcast producers.
I do, from Knoble. Is that right? I asked.
Knooble, I think.
Knooble. Gosh, I'm so close. I'm sorry, Knooble. I should know. You send questions all the time against me decides, but I never have to read them. So normally we get a Pokemon Direct in Q2. Any ideas what happened? Well, they did such a big one in Q1 this year, right? So I don't know what else you could say. We need details about some of these games. Like we said, Pokemon Legends, we're desperate for some details, but maybe they don't want to do a big Direct unless they have announcements to make. There must still be something coming up before the end of the year, though, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I think they'll do one more as like a reminder before those remakes come out, and then that's when they could talk about some of this other stuff as well. I think that's kind of the timeline that I would expect, but they could wait until pretty close before those games come out, which is like what, September, October?
Yeah, I'll tell you, if Pokemon Legends Arceus isn't Breath of the Pokemon, they better let us know, because people are really kind of going out there with what they're expecting, how ambitious that game would be.
They promised it with the trailer in a way by doing the same shots and stuff, and like trying to make people think that's what they were making. So yeah, you're right. If that's not what they're doing, they're gonna have. You're right. They have to say that sooner rather than later.
Eat the Hype asks, do you think we'll see an improved Switch Pro that continues the Switch's lifespan, or is it more likely now that we see a Switch 2 in a couple of years? So if we see a Switch 2 in a couple of years, it'll be like almost something that you could have called a Switch Pro, maybe. Like on the higher end of what those expectations would be, but still sort of like that. Like it's going to, I almost feel like no matter what, the Switch 2 is going to just be a Switch 2, right? Like it's not going to be the next Nintendo console with like a whole new name. It has to be some kind of Switch successor. Agree. I don't know if we're seeing it in a couple of years though.
Yeah, it's like tough to predict because, like we were saying earlier, there's a lot of ways this can go. They could call the next, like what was going to be the Switch Pro, a Switch 2, and make it feel like an iPad 2 sort of thing, where it's like at a certain point you just start calling everything the Switch and things get upgraded, but still in that lineage, and you're just buying the 2022 Switch because they want to keep that name going for forever. They don't want people to feel like they have to start over. But if I think that the Switch Pro, my guess here would be the Switch Pro still comes next year and does expand the lifespan of the Switch a little bit longer. And a few years from now, we're looking back, be like, wow, the Switch sold 150 million consoles because because they expanded it and just kept going with these iterations instead of just starting the new generation. And then when does the next generation start for them? I don't know. It's like it's 2021 now. Switch Pro in 2022 maybe. 2024 is kind of what I would think. So yeah, I mean I know that's a pretty long generation, but they had everything going for them. Like the thing's still selling really hot. It's it's on a long trajectory in terms of like being one of the best selling consoles of all time. Anyhow, there was the pandemic in the middle that sort of like gave it that big boost. And it's one of Nintendo's handhelds. So if you compare it to like the handhelds, it's not actually that long of a like the Game Boy. How long was the Game Boy? Game Boy was around for like 12 years or something.
But it was practically dead, and then Pokemon came out of nowhere and made it relevant again. So that was a little bit of a weird case.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, 3DS or DS was around for a decent bit, I feel like.
Yeah. So I think that's about right. I think 2024.
Yamasef asks, is Nintendo Switch OLED model the name we deserve or the name we need? Maybe a bit of both, because we don't deserve good things because we're bad people. But like, it is kind of silly. But like, what else can you call it? Because if you call it like the new Nintendo Switch or the Switch Pro, then that kind of makes you assume certain things about it that it isn't. So you kind of can't give it too flashy of a name because it makes it seem like a bigger deal product than it is. Now it is kind of scummy that it's just like the Nintendo Switch with the OLED model. That's it. Also, it's $50 more than the 4-year-old machine that's already been out forever.
Yeah, it's the name we deserve. That's right. It's gonna work. I think OLED has enough of a buzz around it, and people, like, if people don't know what it is, like, someone will be like, "Well, it's a bigger and better screen," and that's all you have to say again. And it's like a very easy pitch. They'll put it in the commercials. They'll show the screen getting bigger, and people love bigger screens. They don't care about a lot of the other details. So them fixating on that to the point where that's basically the name of the system is a bit funny, but it's going to work. So it's kind of what we deserve.
I always thought that if it was going to be a 4K machine, they would have just called it the Nintendo Switch 4K, which is kind of a bit more of a thing than it is kind of weird to just see OLED in the name.
It is more of a thing. You're right.
Don't usually make a big deal about that.
Right.
There it is.
They might have trouble with that because if it's not 4K in handheld, calling it the Switch 4K. So I don't know. Maybe there's some ways around that. Real quick, Jed Amos 4 asks, when Nintendo was crazy enough to do, this is a comment. Nintendo was crazy enough to do Nintendo 2DS, new 2DS, Nintendo. Yes, in 2017, and that's a good point. They might,
but what isn't that maybe the one revision that maybe they would have taken back if they could? Were they selling a lot of new Nintendo 2DSs?
I bet, maybe.
The 2DS space did really well. I don't know about the new Nintendo 2DS.
Yeah, I mean, they're still selling it now, so it felt like the kind of thing where, like, this is the version that we're going to really strip a lot of stuff out of. We figured out all these processes. We can make this thing for dirt cheap, put it out there, and just sell it for a long time, and just make a little bit of money on the hardware over the next couple of years. It felt like that kind of thing.
All right. Canubo asked a couple more questions. Did I say it right that time? Canubo?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, we're getting there. What's your favorite Nintendogs? Jeff, what's your favorite Nintendog?
My favorite Nintendog, hang on, let me look, because I don't know my dog breeds, but I remember which one I got, if I could see the name of it.
There was the, it was a Cocker Spaniel, but it had a fancier name than that, it was like a royalty thing, or for some reason. That was the one I liked. This name's going to stick, by the way, because they're never going to make another new Nintendogs, are they? Right?
No, I don't think so. It wasn't Chihuahua. It must have been. Oh, Dashhound. Dashhound and Friends.
Dashhound, I think you say Dashhound.
Yeah, I don't know how to say it, but yeah, Dachshund. Is that Dachshund?
Maybe it's just Dachshund. We got Dachshund here.
Yeah.
See, no one cares.
Dachshund and Friends. That's the one I played, and I of all of it, because I'm like, a lab is so basic. I'm not a dog person, people. And then a Chihuahua and Friends, I'm like, oh, I can't. This is like right when Paris Hilton had the Chihuahua in her purse all the time, so I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do Chihuahua.
I had a Cavalier Spaniel. That's a Cavalier. I like the Cavalier Spaniel, maybe because I like the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yes, but that seems good.
Dachshund was the shit, says Kristen in chat.
Canubo also asks, do you guys want a new Elite Beat agent? Yes. God, yes.
So much.
Absolutely, yes. Maybe more so than anything else. I love Elite Beat.
Same.
Elite Beat Agents has maybe the best final stage in any video game ever. That jumping jack flash sequence. I still get chills.
Yep.
Incredible.
And like they're all covers, and yet it doesn't matter because you're just so into it.
This is probably gonna get somebody to hurt me, but I like the Elite Beat Agents version of Jumping Jack Flash a lot more than the Rolling Stones version.
You just can't help because you're so engaged with it, and it's so exciting. Oh man, I love Elite Beat Agents too. Honestly going back.
Nothing left for me to do but dance. Come on, Jeff. All these bad times you're going through, just dance. You got canned heat in your shoes tonight, TK.
I adore that game. I honestly go back. It would probably be my game of the year for that year if I had to go back and choose again.
It's my favorite DS game, and there's a lot of good DS games.
It's like timeless. You can go back and play it right now. Elite Beat Agents. People don't know it's a rhythm game.
I should get the those Japanese games that it's
Owanden,
yeah. Right, because I feel like I'm gonna miss it'll be fun with the J-pop stuff or whatever it is, but I'm gonna miss just these quirky,
it's not the same, right?
Yeah, pop song.
He was a skater boy. You just don't get that.
Boy.
Yeah. But yeah, I miss it. I wish they would come back. I wish they would make a new one. I guess they would. The Switch is a touch screen, but you can't play that stuff on the screen if it's on your TV. So maybe that's why they wouldn't do it. Maybe they won't do it because they don't want to make one. But I wish they would.
All right, so I think that's it for questions right now. If you guys have any more super chats, you can get those in. Jeff, talking about those minis, if you could just pick one Nintendo, I know that Game Boy seems to make the most sense, and you said good reasons why they can't do a Nintendo 64. But if you could just pick one for them to do, which one would it be?
Virtual Boy.
I tell you what, Dan, I would like that.
I think it would be like this quirky thing from the past. They've sort of started acknowledging it a little bit. I think it showed up in something recently. I can't remember where it was, but like it was a recent game, and they brought it up, and it was like, oh man, they like actually talking about the Virtual Boy. That's weird. But they could bring.
Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah, Luigi's Mansion. Yes, that's right. Yes. Thank you. And they could put every single Virtual Boy game on there because there was like 15, and. And you could just make it like kind of like a maybe even make it like a smartphone thing where you just put it into like a cardboard thing and put strap it to your head. Yeah, make it a Labo thing. But honestly, if they just went all out and kind of made it like a cheap thing, you just sit on your table and you play, and it has a battery that lasts 2 hours or whatever.
They could have ported some of those games to the 3DS, and I'm still mad that at least Wario Land. And that's actually a good game. That would have been cool to play. But Mario Tennis there, it's very simple because I think that was actually the first Mario Tennis. Mm-hmm. The one that was a launch game for that thing. But there's weird things like 3D Tetris that are there's a Bomberman puzzle game. There's Jack Bros, the weird Shin Megami Tensei top-down action RPG.
Waterworld. There was
Waterworld as a game. There's a couple games that were just never released or finished because the system was a disaster. Like one of them was just this ball who's bouncing on platforms. I played it at a GDC once because someone just had it there to play on a Virtual Boy. It was really cool because the perspective you're actually following the ball. And the world is the thing that's kind of going further away from you and up as you're bouncing. It was pretty cool. Yeah, that'd be pretty neat. That's just a curiosity, huh? Here's the Virtual Boy.
So.
We can make these for $20 now. Here's every game on it. There it is.
Right. And I think they could probably get away with selling it for $100 or something.
And they can find a way for it to not give you cancer now. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe make it so that it doesn't make kids' eyes explode in their skull. Yeah.
Hey, you see, we got a super chat from Matt Parsa asking, do you think of Darkness will ever come back? What do you think he means? Eternal Darkness? What's of Darkness?
I am not sure. I think probably Eternal Darkness, right?
I think they mean Eternal Darkness. I'll say this. For us, man in chat, I'll see it. If you mean Eternal Darkness, no, because Dennis Dyke has tried to crowdfund a spiritual successor to that one multiple times and has not
Heart of Darkness funding. Heart of Darkness.
Wait, wasn't that made by or from Gym People? Right.
I think I'm trying to hang on. I remember I never played this game, but I remember seeing the ads for it, and it was around that time. Hang on, I'm gonna look it up.
Wasn't it almost more like one of the cinematic 2D platformers, like Another World?
Yeah, it was there's a very animated and stuff. Yes,
I remember. That's exactly what I'm thinking about. I liked that game. It didn't come out on a Nintendo platform, but no,
Hey, a Game Boy Advance port was announced in 2001, but was never released.
Oh, okay. So this game was actually developed by the person who worked on Another World. Imagine that. Okay, had nothing to do with. You know what? I was thinking of Wild 9. I think when I was thinking about or whatever that game was called.
Oh, right. Yeah, Wild. Yes, Wild 9.
Something. So, yeah. Yeah, but no. Yes, this was just. Yeah, I mean, they don't really make 2D these cinematic games like this and Blackthorn, or Prince of the original Prince of Persia, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's gonna come back. Maybe someday we will be able to get a port. Hey, I tell you, you know what you should do? You should get a PlayStation Classic. You should find out how to mod the thing and just put it on there because that's a fantastic way to play PlayStation 1 games. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah, but man, all those games from that PlayStation 1 era, it's it's so weird. When I remember them, Wild 9 and Heart of Darkness being among those. But there's another one I can't remember that's in that vein.
That's one of the fun things about the PlayStation because its library was so big that there's so many kind of games you forget about that are actually pretty good games. You're just oh yeah, right.
Yeah, they're really deep cuts. Absolutely, for sure.
Compared to Nintendo 64, which you could probably name most of the significant Nintendo 64 games off the top of your head. Even like the deep cuts, like Space Station Silicone or whatever.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone knows.
And it, like, the thing with Nintendo is like the people love talking about it so much that you're gonna find someone on YouTube who's like talked about it and done like the deep dive on it and stuff. So it's not exactly the same with PlayStation or Sega stuff. Mike, though, I think I'm right with the Virtual Boy. What do you think they should do for the next Mini?
Yeah, I don't know. My heart wants to say GameCube still because I love that thing. Yeah, so much. I plugged my old GameCube back in. I was playing some Metroid Prime 1 the other day, and it was crazy just playing that on the GameCube. And you were right. You told me before, like, I was really anxious about going back to the tank controls and stuff because the last time I had played it, it was the Wii version. Right. I got over it very quick.
Very fast.
Fine. Because, well, for one thing, the auto aiming is very well. Even when you're not doing the Z targeting or the L targeting, I guess the auto aiming has like those little transparent reticules that appear on things when you're shooting at it. That's great.
And the thing just goes zoop and zooms right over to it and starts shooting it. It's great.
And if there's nothing to lock into, you hold down L, you start strafing, kind of like in a twin stick shooter, anyways. And I like that when you really do want to aim, you do like have to plant your feet, and it's very deliberate. You like see her holding her gun. But yeah, so that's still fine. Man, I still do like that game. It is still just really pretty atmospheric. I am at the point now where like when I am playing some of these games, I'm like, oh yes, this is before HD. Some of the stuff is just blurrier.
Right.
But yeah, it doesn't bother me too much. In some ways, it kind of helps. Like I wish text would sometimes be crisper and stuff, but man, such a fun game.
Right, yeah, playing it on the on Dolphin emulator, you don't get any of that stuff. It's all just up-res, so it just looks so good. It looks so modern. When they put out that HD trilogy, it's just going to be fantastic. There
is a bit of a problem with like a lot of GameCube games are just on other things anyway. Like we're getting Super Monkey Ball games soon, Mario Sunshine we already had, but like there's still, gosh, F-Zero, which I played that recently. That's great. Kirby Air Rider, Smash Bros. Melee is a really big one. Double Dash. There's plenty of things. I think it's pretty good third-party stuff too. Like Soul Calibur 2, you get that version with Link in there. Well, holy crap.
Yes, yeah. That Soul Calibur 2, the one with Link, we went over to a friend's house who had that, and not a friend, it was like a friend of a friend, and he put it on the mode where like you could get the character specific powers if you like dress them up or whatever, and like he was treating that like the versus mode, and so he had a Link that was automatically healing throughout, and no one noticed for hours, and he just kept beating us, and I'm like, there's something going on here. I know, there's something going on here, and so finally I'm like, you know what? Here's what we're gonna do. And I picked the exact same Link with the exact same clothes, and I beat him easily then. And everyone's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, look, it's automatically healing. Look. And everyone got really mad at the guy. But
they should have.
I never considered that man a friend after that point, and he was very much always hanging around like, yeah, I never forgave him.
Would do that.
It was messed up. It was messed up to try to pull that off. He got away with it for a long time too, and he would have got away with it forever if I wasn't there. It's basically the point of the story. So thank God for me.
Get rid of him.
I know. Yeah, we got to do something about him. Take care of him.
Gotta do something about it.
Heated. I'm heated.
He's in the doghouse. This is where you would push a button and there'd be some woofing sound effects.
Woof. All right, yeah, I'll work on it. I'll work on it.
Set up for next time.
Next time. Yep.
Next time. But yeah, a bunch of RPGs you could put on GameCube. Tales of Symphonia, Batten Kaitos. You could put Beautiful Joe, even Billy Hatcher. I'll even allow that. I'm in a good mood. What the heck? But yes, the Wii. There's a good case for the Wii, just because. Like with the Wii, you can't easily port a lot of those games. So it makes sense to make a mini that just comes with a Wii mode and a nunchuck again. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, look, you can play, Mario Galaxy 2 like that. And here's Zack and Wiki. Like, how else are we ever going to play Zack and Wiki again? Right. I don't know. So that could be fun. We got our super chat there. You want to read that? Yeah,
this is from Thraxmo 1.0. He says, hey, Jeff, your background is blurry. Do you have unreleased Nintendo hardware sitting on a shelf, or are you hiding something else?
It's got an OLED already.
Yeah, it's back there. Yep, there it is.
They accidentally left one in the doghouse before they threw us in there and locked away the key.
Oh, I'm just going to throw it away. There we go.
There you go. It's not like, for people who don't know, Jeff one time had an Xbox Series S just in the background of a shot, like before they announced it or whatever it was. Yep. Or not before they announced it. They announced it, but people were not supposed to know you had one.
Right. Yeah. That's how it went, I think. Yeah. It was right here. God. Yeah. And I can't remember if someone mentioned it or if I just like finally noticed if you noticed.
Someone said something.
And then you asked me about it.
And I looked. I was like, is that can't actually be. So then I asked you about it, and man, did your face go red? That was great.
Yep, that was bad.
As a highlight after my brother bringing me Arby's is my second favorite moment from Games Beat Decides.
Yep, that was, yeah, of course, nothing's ever going to beat that. I got another super chat here as we start to wrap up, right, Mike? So I'm going to get this one from Creaky Legs, who says, marry, date, or delete from contacts. Are you going to marry, date, or delete one of these following contacts from your phone, I guess? Arby's, Elite Beat Agents, and Coke Zero.
Oh my God!
This is messed up. This is from Creaky Legs. This is a messed up one. Okay. Wow. This is messed up. So listen, I really like Coke Zero, but I've mostly stopped drinking pop. I almost never do it. They were out of iced tea at Chipotle the other day, so I did get a Coke Zero. It was very refreshing, but it's not something I would just go with the unsweetened iced tea if it was there. So I am gonna delete Coke Zero.
Straw it.
I'm gonna have to marry Arby's and date Elite Beat Agents. I feel like that's how it is.
Upset. I don't know if I can do this. So here's the thing. I love Coke Zero. I drink a ton of Coke Zero. I probably shouldn't drink as much Coke Zero. So like I want to tell myself, I'll say date Coke Zero because like I shouldn't have as much of it as I do anyways. I'd be lying to myself though. I need it. Like, you know, I do. I drink a lot of Coke Zero. I love it. I might have to marry Coke Zero just because I'm like, it's bad. If I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, so if I'm addicted to anything, it is Coke Zero, and maybe I should cut back, but I can't, and I'm not ready to yet.
Wow,
so
we are
we
are seeing the claws of addiction right before us, everybody. Like this is what it looks like.
Yeah. And I have to date Arby's because I love Arby's. Arby's has to be my chick on the side, and she should. If I was smart, she'd be my main girl.
Right.
But I'm not smart. I should me and Arby's should get hitched and raise a happy family out in a cabin in the woods somewhere. But I'm too busy slumming it up with Coke Zero in the alleyway. And like, yeah, I love Elite Beat Agents, but I don't need Elite Beat Agents to live the same way I need Coke Zero and Arby's. There it is.
Wow, there it is, everybody.
We're taking a couple more questions from our Patreons over in the Discord. So I'm reading these as they come in. But so J-Tinch asked, is there any chance that this new model was the Pro, and once chip shortages started getting bad, Nintendo gutted it and put the X1 in for the time being?
I think it's possible, but I really doubt it. I doubt that that's how it went. The chip shortage is the chip shortage, and Nintendo fully understands that. And while that may have like pushed out the timing a little bit, I don't think they would have like completely, switched out what they were going to put inside the system because of that. They would start heading in a direction, and they're going to have to kind of stick to it a little bit. They could get to a point where they're like, okay, we're not ever going to actually release a Switch Pro because the timing didn't work out. But like I said earlier, my guess was always that this is what was supposed to happen, and it was probably supposed to happen before the Switch Pro. And so, and when we started hearing reports and things were getting conflated, that was just a lot of mixed signals that were happening that people were getting confused about. But I think this is kind of what it was always supposed to happen.
J-Tinch also asks, is there any chance this new dock is ready for a Switch Pro in that it can do 4K output? It just needs the Pro to be enabled.
Yeah, I think there's a chance for that because it's, they probably just put HDMI 2.1 in there or something like that, or 2.0, and they would be good to go.
Keywork says, pound for pound, which system has a better game library, Nintendo 64 or GameCube? We know SNES would win outright if it was in the fight, but I think it would be a bit more competitive with just 64 and GameCube. I think it's GameCube easily, Jeff. And I people don't know. I'm kind of down on Nintendo 64. Not that I think Nintendo 64 is bad. It's a great system, but maybe a little overrated. And the GameCube is certainly underrated. Yeah.
So when did we do a ranking of Nintendo systems? I think we did. I think we did that. We're like, the GameCube has a lot of what the N64 has, just better, and I think that's mostly true. That mostly holds up, and also it has
holds up for almost everything, but maybe like Mario 64 to Sunshine.
Mario, right? And that's
a Sunshine defender, but I'm not going to say Sunshine's better than 64.
Right, and that's like a big black mark against the GameCube. But like GameCube has Metroid Prime, no Metroid game on the N64. I lead towards the GameCube. I know MVG, whenever we talk about this, he's like, no, it's N64. But he's a very old man, and I'm sure the GameCube was just too tough for him.
I think it depends very heavily on how much you like Rare. Because if you like those rare games, they are on the N64, and there are a ton of on there. I am hit or miss with some of them. Like, I like Banjo-Kazooie, fine. Like, Conker's Bad Fur Day doesn't do much for me. I think Blast Corp is, like, fun. I'm going to play for hours. I don't even like GoldenEye or Perfect Dark all that much, right? So I'd rather play Agent Under Fire on my GameCubes and play Perfect Dark because I'm a bad person.
You're a bad person. Yeah. I'll lean towards GameCube as well. I think we're a GameCube favoring podcast here.
We are. I'm gonna admit it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this first episode. Thank you all for being here. You witnessed history.
Congratulations, everybody.
Yeah,
you did it.
Well done. Jeff, want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, let's see. My home address is I am Jeff Grubb on Twitter and Jeff Grubb on Twitch, and then you can, if you are like listening to the audio version, you could listen to us on the come watch us live whenever we do this. We're not sure exactly when, but if you just follow youtube.com/Jeffrey Grubb and ring the bell, you'll get notified whenever we go live. And thank you everybody for who is watching right now. If you want to hit the like button, hit thumbs up to make sure it help other people find the show. That'll really help. We want people to know we're doing this, so hit that thumbs up. It'll help it as we go into the VOD version. And then our other shows, Games Beat Decides, I do that with Mike. And then How Games Make Money, I'm going to be recording a new episode of that, I think tomorrow, and I'll probably get that up relatively soon after that. But yeah, that's me, Mike. How about you?
What about, is there new Grubb Snacks tomorrow? Second Grubb Snacks?
Grubb Snacks is on Thursday. Yes, on giantbomb.com. Now, starting now, you get to be a premium member. So go to giantbomb.com/upgrade if you definitely don't want to miss out on that. But if you want to if you haven't seen it yet, the first episode's up on YouTube right now, and it's on giantbomb.com. Check it out, see if you like it, and if you like it, there's a bunch of cool stuff happening over at Giant Bomb right now. I'm helping them out with that show. You can check that out and then kind of decide later if you want to upgrade. But yeah, giantbomb.com on Thursdays at, let's see, what I do at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, so that's 10 a.m. Pacific and then 1 p.m. Eastern.
Right, and I am Tolkoto on Twitter, TOLKOTO. Also, AstroZombie08. I see you with Chameleon Twist. I like those games. I also do Games Week Decides with Jeff on Fridays, and I do 90s Disney, my 90s Disney podcast with my brothers AJ and Chris. And our last episode was about Darkwing Duck, so be sure to check that out and give it a listen. But you can also read me and Jeff at gamespeed.com. I guess we didn't really talk about this, Jeff. Is this podcast even affiliated with GameSpeed? Is it just
we haven't decided that yet? We probably should. Let's post it on GameSpeed. What's it going to hurt? No one's going to mind.
Yeah, we'll post it on GameSpeed. We'll ask Grant Bomb if they'll pay for it, but until then, we'll give it to GameSpeed.
Infernal Tim in the chat made a good point. I want to post my wife's deal site, Daily Delivery 5 on Twitter. She's been posting a lot of deals. She posts a lot of game deals. So if you're looking to save some money, she's very good at it. And so yeah, check that out. It's Daily Delivery 5 on Twitter. So be sure to check that out.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. I'm trying to think of a dog-themed outro here, but I got nothing right now unless I just start woofing like a madman. I'll say bye for now. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody. All right, Mike, they can't hear us. Oh, no, they can hear me. Hi, everybody.